Good day, guys. It's O'Neill Anderson here from GlobalFX. I just want to go through a very quick setup. I won't spend much time explaining into much detail as to what are the economic factors that I'm looking for on the GBPUSD, but I'll just quickly go through technical analysis, or rather my simple price action. As most of you guys know, that I like to keep my analysis rather straightforward and simple. I don't like to use a lot of indicators. I always keep or try my best to keep a clean chart. So before I even look for entries and market direction, as you guys should know, that the first thing that I like to do is that I like to look at my higher time frames for my important levels of support and resistance. So the chart you are looking at, or the time frame you are looking at now, this is a weekly time frame. This is a GBPUSD. First thing that I can pick up here is that we do have a strong level of resistance. I'll just put it in your highlighted with this rectangle. We can see that the market is currently at weekly resistance. You can see here, if you just look to the left, you would see that you had this price rejection here. We had actually two long wicks to the downside. This just simply shows you that, or tells you that price was very sensitive to these price levels here. So we had a lot of liquidity here, long orders were being filled and short positions were being closed at this point here. We can see that the market broke through this level of support and came to retest it as resistance, and then you had a further move to the downside. Then you had a break through that resistance again, right? So that's the first thing that we can see on the GBPUSD. Then you see that you had this huge candle close below this level here. Then price continued to the downside at approximately 1.141. Then price came back up to retest this previous support as resistance. You can see you have a rejection there. Then price actually bounced off this level here, and then price continued making its way to the downside. Then price came back to test this resistance. You had a strong bullish close, but then price actually failed to continue making its way to the upside. So that tells you that we had a lot of selling pressure at that resistance. And a lot of traders were actually trapped here. So here they had like a long squeeze. So a lot of traders actually went long, but then price actually failed to continue its way to the upside. So you can see price broke below this level of resistance and is currently testing that level again as resistance. So one thing to note is that price is currently at a weekly resistance. That's the first important thing that you want to look at. And then I'm also looking at my EMAs and my simple moving average. We can see here that my exponential moving average, it's in orange. It's a 8 EMA. Then in blue, I have my simple moving average. We can see price is currently above both my EMA as well as my simple moving average, right? So if I actually see a price trading above my moving averages, so we clearly have like a long bias, right? But one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is that price is currently at a weekly resistance or a resistance area. Now if I just take it down a time frame, let's just look at the daily time frame. I'll just remove this highlighted area here. So what you can see on the daily time frame is that if you're looking in terms of your Elliott wave count, you would see that you had this swing high here. As you can see here, we had price actually have this or equal highs here. If you continue looking to your right, you can see that price actually broke through, but didn't manage to actually continue making its way up. So we had price actually come down. Lots of traders went long on this pair, but then they were actually in a long squeeze. Then price actually continued making its way down, right? But if you look at where you had your high, right? So this swing high here at the top, right? You can see you had this huge bear candle close, right? In terms of your Elliott waves, you can make this your starting point or your point X or point 0. You can see price had an impulse wave 1, wave 2 corrective, wave 3 impulsive, wave 3 corrective, and wave 5 impulsive, right? So that's the end of my Elliott wave count, right? Now, as you guys should know that you're looking for a strong correction at the end of wave 5. So you're looking for A, B, C correction, right? So we are actually looking, recall that on my weekly time frame, price is actually trading above my EMAs as well as um, my simple moving average. So the market bias currently, it is actually bullish, but we gonna try to get a precise entry. This is just to avoid um, being in too much of a drawdown. So you don't want to have a early entry or you don't want to have a late entry. Now, what we can see here on the daily time frame is that you have this level of support right over here, right? So right at the end of wave 3, you had support, you had price move to the upside, you had price break below that support, completing your wave 5, and then you also had price actually fail to continue making its way down. So price actually broke through that support once again. So that was a false breakout. So what I am actually looking for here on the GBPUSD, I'm looking for a further retracement back down to the support where we can then eventually have reversal candlesticks here or price action confirmation to actually get a long trade, and then we can probably get enough orders here. So I'm expecting high liquidity at this specific support once we have this retracement, and that could actually build up momentum for price to actually break through that weekly resistance that we've highlighted on a weekly time frame. So this is what I'm actually looking for on my GBPUSD. And ultimately, if you look at once we have um, this retracement back down to the support, we could potentially have a inverted head and shoulder here. So there is potential, there is a possibility that if price does retrace down to this level of support, that we will have a inverted head and shoulder. So that is a reversal pattern, and then we could be looking to enter. Then our first target could be at this resistance here, once we have our entry here at support. But if price does break through this resistance, and comes back to retest it, I won't be looking for a long entry because there is a possibility that we could have a false breakout. So I'll be looking for price to actually make its way down to support before I actually get my long entries. Now, if you just step it a time frame lower, I'll go to my 4-hour time frame. Now, on a 4-hourly time frame, you'll be able to see these moves much more clear. Right, so on a 4-hourly, we can see that you actually had price form this pattern here. If you just draw in a trend line like this, right, you can see price actually had a breakthrough. This descending trend line didn't come for a retest, so I'm expecting a retest, either a retest of this trend line here, or rather a test of the support here once again. And if you also look closely to this daily support, you can see that you had nice reversal candlesticks formed there at the support. You can see you have this bullish engulfing candlestick there. So I am aware that some of you guys actually did go long on this trade. Well, I know some of the students or Signal subscribers actually went long at the close of this bull candlestick here. So right at the break, they had already entered long positions, and they had their stop losses just below this previous support. right? So on a 4 hourly time frame, I'll be looking for a retracement. Um, the first retracement I'll be looking for is a 61.8. If I just excuse me, if I just pull up my Fibonacci tool, so from this swing low to this swing high, right, I'll be looking for a retracement of 61.8. So at approximately this price area here, that's where I'll be looking for retracement. So I'm looking for price to actually make its way to the downside before I can have a long entry. And this will actually be a long term or a swing trade. Right, so this is what I'm looking for on the GBPUSD. If it does happen that price actually breaks above this resistance here, remember we are at a weekly resistance as well. If it happens that price actually breaks above that, I'll simply won't be entering the trade at the retest of that broken resistance. It's always better to rather miss on an opportunity other than to enter a trade with very less possibilities or probabilities. And always remember that when you are trading, what we usually do is what I always advise my students is that it's best that you don't overtrade. Always try to look for the best setups. Be patient wait for the market to actually come to you to get to where you want it to be and then only execute your trade. So at times when you actually doing your analysis, it does not mean that right after your analysis that you should be in a trade right after that. And that is a mistake that beginner traders make all the time. It's that they always think that they have to be in a trade. They always want to overtrade. And that is one of the reasons why people keep on blowing accounts on without actually making good trading decisions. So it's always best to wait for the market to get to where you want to be. Don't try to chase after the market because you'll never ever be able to catch the market, right? So it's best that um, you wait for a pullback back into the support area. Then only I'll be looking for long entries. So this is my GBP USD.